known as $2 Tuesdays at wagertalk.com and sportsmemo.com, where you can get the hottest handicappers, best bet, or daily package for only $2.
Hey guys, welcome back to Wager Talk TV. I am Andrew McInnis. I have Carmine Bianco with me and Don Buster, and this is puck time. We have 4 games we are breaking down for today's slate. Minnesota Wild at Montreal Canadiens. We have the Avalanche, New York Rangers, Lightning at Kings, and the nightcap with the Pittsburgh Penguins taking on the Calgary Flames. Not really the best night for me last night, guys, especially with the later game there, but happy the Oilers got it done at least. That was, one of my better client plays, but you know what? It's rough when you lose some of these ones, especially like my best bet was on the show with the St. Louis Blues after I ripped the Winnipeg Jets, but Winnipeg came in, they were more desperate, more motivated, and it just seemed to be a good spot for them. But I couldn't really pass up making a best bet on the Blues after the odds I saw there on them. But Carm, I want to go to you. What's going on with you, and what do you have going on for clients tonight at wagertalk.com?
I think that's why they call it the swamp. I got sucked into that swamp yesterday with the Devils. I thought they looked good, except for the second period. And unfortunately, NHL games are 3 periods, 60 minutes. If you take even 20 minutes off, you are going to get punished in this league. And they did yesterday. So it's onwards and upwards from here. The Oilers, that were the show best bet, got there. They spanked the Pens, who were in action in the second half of the Alberta double, and we're going to talk about that game later on. But that St. Louis game surprised me as well too. I didn't watch the game. I watched the highlights of that one. I was out watching football and watching the New Jersey game, and neither one of those were exciting games. If you're a Patriots fan, you're definitely not happy with what happened in that game. The Bears just steamrolled them. I don't think anyone saw that one coming. 3 out of 4 props that I released at Wager Talk did hit. The only one that didn't was Mac Jones. I didn't even know why I took Mac Jones over 18.5 receptions, because I thought that if he struggled, he was going to get pulled. So taking that prop was probably a dumb one. But I've done dumb things before, and this guy will tell you about them. Don Buster, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Carmine. And of course, I will, you know me better than that. I'm old school, and we never talk out of school. That's just the way it goes. But I'm sure if I met a couple of the guys that are watching and we sat down, had a few beverages, and you were there, I could tell a few funny stories. But, I actually had a 2-1 night last night, and it sounds like it would have been a good game to discuss last night, because I really liked Winnipeg. I thought it was a good spot, as you said, and I had Winnipeg last night, and that was a nice win, so I was quite pleased about that. And we have 4 games going today. Glad to be here on the Tuesday. Also glad to be finally getting out of Canada tonight. So you guys can all look forward to, or maybe not look forward to, the Mexican blanket next Tuesday.
I love it. You're going from a very normal looking background, Buster, with a nice home behind you, to back to that background. But that's how we know it's hockey season. That's how we know you're back in Mexico. So, and I got to say, the Blues didn't make my client card, Buster, and I'm happy it didn't, and I'm happy that you cashed. But I was a little bit shocked by how things went. I got to just ask you, Carm. I know you wanted to add something, Carm, but I want to ask Buster. Do you find, Buster, that it's good to almost sometimes fade teams that are off to like a 3-0 start sometimes? I'm sure you liked Winnipeg, obviously, but what was it at all any type of fade of the St. Louis Blues at all, or was it more of a bet on spot for Winnipeg to you?
Yeah, for me, I really thought, because they've been on the road, right? And again, they're 3-0. They were 3-0, but it's early in the season. You can't, all this stuff that goes on early in the season. There's a game tonight too that I think everybody was on St. Louis, and I'm a very contrarian better. There's a game everybody's going to be on that we're going to talk about, and I like the other side of that one tonight too. It probably won't make my card, but I do like that. I'll do like that other side tonight too, and we will talk about that game. I think maybe second down the list.
Carmine, are you looking forward
Andrew,
to that new
it's
background?
surprising. It's what's that? Sorry.
Are you looking forward to Buster's old background?
Oh yeah, my eyes and my pupils dilate, I think, when Buster has that background up. I may actually put up the one that he got me. He got me one as a gift. Maybe we have a matching pair next Tuesday, which it'll only be Don, Buster, and I next Tuesday on Puck Time. Andrew will be traveling. We have given him the whole week off. The guy's going to Europe. He wanted to do shows. I'm like,
nice.
Listen, you're with your family, you're with your friends, you're in Europe for a week. Enjoy it. You don't need to be on Puck Time. We will hold down the fort to do our best. But I was just going to comment on the fact that Buster comes to Canada, spends all this time here, and then the minute the temperature drops even a couple Fahrenheit points or Celsius points for us Canadians, the guy is packing his bags and on his way to Mexico to pick those avocados and just enjoy the beach. I don't get this guy, man. What a life this man is living.
Hey, well, that might be the case, but then again, Carmine, you can do it yourself. You just have to want to do it. You have to want to not be a shut-in in Canada, because when you're here, you're a shut-in. Life's too short for this guy, and I'm going to live it up. And if that means being on a beach, making all my bets, so be it.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good to me. I gotta say, I'm absolutely loving seeing across my Twitter timeline right now everyone that lives in Vegas, and including the guys that work with Wager Talk too, complaining about the weather in Vegas right now. Are you kidding me? I mean, I get it; they're used to like scorching hot weather, but where we live, guys, here in the East Coast, I mean, Buster, you're only here half the time, but when I hear anybody complaining about like 20 degrees Celsius weather, I can't help but shake my head. I would take 20 degrees Celsius weather all day, every day of my life. So that's what's going on right now in Vegas, it seems like. But, I mean, they're wearing like winter hats and winter jackets when it's 15 degrees Celsius. That, to me, is a little questionable. But, guys, the Vancouver Canucks, they continue to lose. They could not get it done. I had the over in that game. They couldn't keep it scoring for me. That one was frustrating. But the Hurricanes had a pretty good road trip. Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about the Vancouver Canucks, I guess, when they actually have a game playing. But, man, it's definitely one of those things where they're not really a team you want to bet on right now. There's a losing streak can go on and on and on, but it'll only be snapped once. Just remember that, guys. If you want to be the guy that breaks it, it can go on and on, but it can only be snapped one time.
When fans start tossing jerseys onto the ice at the end of the game, fans tossing jerseys onto the ice, it is a bad thing for that franchise. And players shouldn't get upset. I've seen players in the past, I think someone did it at a Leaf game once, and the players in the interview said that we're upset that the fans toss a jersey. No, you should be upset that you guys are not winning any games for your fans who pay good money to come and watch you play, and you guys have not put anything in the W column as of yet. So if fans want to get pissed, let them get pissed. You pay the money. You are entitled to have an opinion.
Absolutely. At least for us, Buster, with our Montreal Canadiens we're about to discuss here, the future's bright with the prospect pool, at least here. Let's break down the first game here with the Minnesota Wild, Montreal Canadiens. You take a look at series history. It has not gone very well for the Canadiens in the past against the Minnesota Wild. Minnesota minus 210 on the highway here at the Bell Center. Montreal plus 175, total at 6.5. Heavily shaded towards the over in this one. And like I mentioned, Minnesota, and specifically in Montreal, has done very, very well. I believe it's like 5 or 6 straight wins on the road in Montreal. Don't quote me on that. I can't pull it up here in a second. But when I look at this contest, I look at a Minnesota team that, let's be honest here, they had a little bit of an iffy start to the year. But they're really pulling it together. It seems like their lines are really starting to gain chemistry. And you take a look at the Montreal Canadiens now, a little bit of injuries here and there. But they are a different team at home. And I want to ask you, Carm, really before I gave up my picks in this one, I want to go around the horn. And I start with you, Carm, and ask you how much you take into account home ice advantage. Because I was on Sports Grid the other day, and I was talking about how with the lesser tier teams, the bottom tier teams like Montreal's expected to be, home ice doesn't matter. If you're a team like Tampa and you're going on the road and playing a team, I'm not as worried. But Montreal does play better at home here, taking on a Minnesota Wild team that does play fast. What are your thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, first of all, I'm surprised on the. I want to be surprised on the price. Like laying 210 with a Minnesota team that only has one win, and that was the aforementioned Vancouver Canucks, who are winless. But maybe you can look at it that again, the overreaction. They're going to start playing better. We know they're going to start stringing some wins together, and even the OT loss to the Bruins was an important one. To your point of home ice, Andrew, I think home ice is always important. Obviously, getting the last change is a big one too with line matching. Very good teams will win on the road, and Minnesota's a very good team, so I wouldn't put it past them going to Montreal and winning this one. I still don't want to touch the number though. It's just you're almost tempted to want to take the Montreal Canadiens at plus money here and a big plus money price, and we've seen what has happened over the last week or so. We've seen some big money dogs come out and win games. So laying this kind of a number, I can't do it myself. You look at the total, and Minnesota's gone over the total every single game. They're 5-0 to the over thus far in their games, and on the road, I think what are they on the road? I think 2-0 to the over on the road, I believe. It's the funny thing is, Andrew, they have not lost yet to a Canadian team, the Minnesota Wild. So Terry, I know you're watching this video and you're in our chat. You guys are unbeaten in Canada this season. But with that said, Andrew, I'm going the over here. I know you have to pay juice on the 6.5. I'm going to take it one step further. I'm going to take the over in the first period. You guys know I've done this before. The over 2 in the first period is plus 105. And instead of laying that heavy juice on the first period, minus 1.5, minus 180-ish, I'll take the over 2, get plus 105 on my money, and look for some goals in this one. Buster?
Yeah, Carmine, I'm with you on that over. I'm actually really shocked how this line went up. It was like 175 when I was doing a little bit of studying like I always do about 2 a.m. last night. And I thought, Minnesota in regulation is probably the play. Now I think that line's like in regulation minus 130. The total, and now being up at 210, that means everybody's smashing Minnesota. And I get it. Fleury's been announced. He's been confirmed to play in Montreal. There's going to be a lot of Minnesota Fleury fans there tonight. And Minnesota needs to start winning some hockey games. The only win that they've had is, as you said, in Vancouver in overtime. But Minnesota is allowing over 5.5 goals a game. That's not good. The goaltending has not been good. Maybe the defense is a little shoddy too. And as you said, Minnesota's gone over every game this year. Montreal, they went 3-3. You made another good point. Maybe Andrew said something, or I can't remember which one of you did. It's only happened like 30 seconds ago, so with the old man mind here. But, Montreal does play well at home, right? They beat Toronto. They beat Pittsburgh. I know they look like they were supposed to look, I guess, because everybody says they're going to be terrible this year. With Dallas beat them in the last game. And maybe Minnesota learns from that. But again, I can't trust a Minnesota team who just haven't looked good. There is no doubt this is a very good Minnesota club. But the goaltending just has been there. Now everybody's expecting Fleury to have a great game, and he probably will. But to me, the only way to go in this game is the way Carmine Bianco just said, over 6.5. That'd be the only way I would go. Not sure if it's going to make my card, but I like the over 2, and I don't want no part of this game now, especially at Minnesota going around 210, 220.
Andrew, a quick question, Andrew, to you is, you look at some of these games sometimes, and almost everyone is of the mind that, listen, it's the Minnesota Wild. They're going to get better. They're a good team. They're going to make the playoffs. What better team to beat up on than a Montreal team that we don't expect to make the playoffs? You take that line of thinking, and all of a sudden you start laying 210, and then what happens? Montreal wins the game. You're like, what did I do wrong? It's got to be the wrong line of thinking, even if Minnesota gets there. Is that correct?
I'd say so as well. I'd agree with you. I will say that juice tolerance is different for each person, right? And all of us, I think, have a little bit of a different threshold, but for the most part, I think the three of us on this show don't like going that high on a money line. So if all three of us were looking to bet on Minnesota, we probably would go regulation or puck line. But there are charts that we've seen Ralph create and different people say online that maybe we are better off. Last week was a good example, and Prez was talking about it where he owned it, saying that he had a big pick on the Leafs in regulation. And, of course, they win like a minute or two into overtime. So it kind of depends on how you look at it. But I think the number has gone up, Carm, and it does kind of worry you a little bit if you're a Minnesota backer and you see that, like Buster said, something like 90% of the tickets are being written on the Wild right now. That's got to be a little worrisome for people right now. But, I think they could keep it close, guys. I don't really bet these bets that often because I don't, first of all, I'm always scared of getting defeated by these empty net goals because I used to have the luck of winning puck lines with them myself. But I actually like the +1.5 for the Montreal Canadiens. And a lot of it has to do with the poor defense for the Minnesota Wild. They're giving up a ton of goals, whether it's because of the goaltenders, whether it's because of their defense. My biggest issue, and I'm telling you guys, everyone out there watching this game tonight, watch how poor they are with their zone exits. I think the biggest part is that the forwards don't stay back enough to help out the defensemen to give them an option. Like they're I don't want to say like they're cherry picking, but do you guys know what I mean? Like I feel like the forwards are way up at the blue line already. They're waiting for a stretch pass where if you look at, and that's the thing, conservative teams, like the Dallas Stars are not a good matchup for the Montreal Canadiens. A lot of teams aren't good matchups for them, let's be honest. But the Dallas Stars aren't a good matchup because they play very safe. They take care of each other. There's not a time on the ice where there isn't a player like 5 feet away from the guy with the puck always supporting each other. So I like the +1.5 here with the Montreal Canadiens to think they would keep things close in this one. I do have 2 props I wanted to bring up. The first one, I got to shout out to Andy Lang because last year this was pretty much one of his bread and butter props. You guys all know Andy. He does NHL, but he only does props. Kirill Kaprizov, he has gone over 3.5 shots on goal in every game this season for him, but one. He is 4-1 on the season. He has had 4, 4, 5, 7, and 1. But more importantly, you look at shot attempts, which I think is really important to look at when you're breaking down these bets. 9, 7, 8, 7, and 5 are the shot attempts per game for Kaprizov and Cole Caulfield. He looks really confident. He looks like he's settling in with this team. He knows that the responsibility he has, and he has that green light to shoot the puck quite a bit. He kind of has his home office, like Carm says, with Ovechkin on the Montreal Canadiens now, where if he gets the puck in the power play, he has the green light to shoot. He is 4-2 on the season to over 2.5 shots on goal. And as far as, looking at his attempts, I mean, it's a lot. We've seen 8, 7, 9. He's shooting the puck quite a bit. So the 2 props that I like quite a bit on the show here, guys. And that Kaprizov one is quite shocking. He's almost up there with the McKinnons and McDavids of the world for how much he shoots, guys. And I know that Buster, you don't play props too often, and Carm, you dabble a little bit, but I'm telling you guys, that Kaprizov one, I'm not sure how much he's passing because it seems like whenever he gets the puck,
Andrew, I listen. I like those ones. I jotted those down. I'm going to play those ones. I released some shot on goal props yesterday. I can't believe for the Pittsburgh Penguins that Rust is always at 2.5 shots on goal and at even money. I gave that one out yesterday, and I think he had 3 shots on goal in the first period, or just into the second. So it's one that continues to cash, and I'll probably be on the Rust one again tonight for my clients. So we'll see how it goes. But we have another game. We have 3 more games to discuss. So let's get to it.
Let's jump into it. This is a big one as well. Colorado, the Avalanche taking on the New York Rangers at Madison Square Garden here. It's a pick-em matchup, and it's like that for a reason. And, of course, the total is at 6.5, this time shaded towards the under here. Buster, we'll go to you first for your thoughts on these teams right now. Of course, Colorado, a little bit of a road trip for them. New York, they're back at home for, I think, a couple days here. What are your thoughts here in this matchup?
Yeah, this is a great game tonight between actually a couple teams that really haven't played their best to start the season, right? Colorado's 3-3 on the year. The Rangers have lost 3 of their last 4 games. And this might be a real tough to pick the side here, but again, this is what I was talking about. I know everybody seems to be on Colorado here, even though it is just at a pick. But the feeling is Colorado because it's Colorado. But I actually like the Rangers tonight. And it just seems to me that Colorado just isn't playing that well. Maybe they have the Stanley Cup flu or something. But they did. I know they went into Vegas on Saturday night. They beat Vegas 3-1. But they were outshot badly. They were out-hit badly. They got beat up at the face-off circle. The only thing they did was win the game. And now they take a couple days off and come to New York City. After tonight, they have another couple days off. It's kind of a weird schedule. So to me, I really kind of like the Rangers to beat them here, especially with Shesterkin's going to be in net tonight. Well, again, they're not confirmed, but we're going to assume he's going to be in net. And, of course, Georgiev. What a great little matchup that is to have him come back to New York and play against each other. So kind of looking for that a bit as well. Yeah, I know New York has lost 2 in a row at home. They don't lose a lot of games at home, guys and girls. They don't lose a lot of games at home. They've lost 2. They only lost 10 last year, I think the whole season. So that also has me on the Rangers here. And I think the big reason, too, is because the Rangers know Georgiev. And know that Georgiev knows the Rangers, but I kind of like that angle. And I like the fact that Rangers might be a little bit more desperate as Colorado's kind of just enjoying things. You're in Vegas for, I don't know how long they stayed. Now you come to New York City. You got another couple days off. I just think it's a pretty good spot for New York here. And as far as the total, I would lean to the under because of what I just said. I'm going to assume that's going to be Georgiev and Shesterkin, and I'm going to lean to the under on that. It probably won't make my card, but I mean, every game seems to be 6.5 now, so there's lots of spots to take advantage of some of these games and bet some unders here. So, but for me, I like the Rangers tonight, guys.
All right, Bush, looking towards the Rangers. Also a little lean to the under, which is what I like as well. Carm, what are your thoughts here? And this one should be a big game.
Yeah, well, it should be. These are 2 teams, Andrew. They're going to be fine. These are 2 teams playing that they're off to like 3-3 starts. I don't want any piece of either team because this just seems like, as Buster said, this seems like one of those games that is going to finish like a low-scoring game. Like I look at it, this is, if I could play an exact score prop, and I was just looking it up right now, I would take 3-2, that this game would finish 3-2 for either team. That is plus 1,000 or 10-1 on your money that this game finishes 3-2. I like the under. That's what I'm going to take here. The Rangers are 3-2-1 to the under thus far this season, 2-1 at home. You look at the Avalanche; they're 4-2 to the over, but 2-1 away from home, and they just have not started to pick it up yet to win games like we saw them do last season. And maybe it is a Stanley Cup hangover, and maybe it is for the Rangers the sort of the same thing, making it to the conference finals. It's a long season, a short off season, and then you got to get going. It's tough to get motivated at the beginning of the season. Maybe I'm not a sports psychologist, but these teams aren't playing anywhere near their level yet, and I just don't want to take an over with these 2 teams right now. I have to think off of that 5-goal after allowing 5 goals to Columbus in that game that they're going to be a lot better this time out. The Rangers at home, and the Shesterkin versus Georgiev matchup is an intriguing one. So I think we see a closer checking game. I don't know who ends up winning here. To use a tagline that Pavlos Lagaretos of Sports Memo uses when we do the soccer show, and we just did it at 10 a.m. He goes, "I don't care who wins," and because he's taking the over or the under. I'm going to take the under, and I don't care who wins.
That's the best part about betting totals. Shout out to Pavlos. You don't care who wins. You just want to win your total bet. And I don't blame you guys. Let's make it a 3 sweep here. Let's make it a consensus play, which means that people are either going to have to ride with us or go against us because I like the under as well. I think that this is the type of time of year where you want to use your eyes and not what you thought was going to happen. Use what you have seen happen. I think it's important for us here betting the NHL. And what we've seen is Colorado, not being involved in these games that have 8, 9, 10 goals so far this year. They have been a lot more defensive, whether it's been them struggling to score or whether it's just been a little bit of a change to their roster. And we got to point out as well, losing Nazem Kadri is a big deal. Not having him on their team, and he's a great two-way player, is a big deal as well. And they're adjusting to certain things. But I like the under 6.5 here. New York at home especially is a way different defensive team. Igor Shesterkin, we know what he's capable of. And, of course, like Buster mentioned, the unique situation with the goaltender for Colorado coming back to New York. Real quick, I wanted to mention Vincent Trocheck, a player that I talked with Carm in our preview about the Rangers, about him moving over to New York. Guys, in every single game he's played in this year so far for the Rangers, he's gone over 2.5 shots on goal. It's incredible. And yet his number is at minus 125 over 2.5 shots on goal. Every single game he's played in, he's gone over that prop. So in a marquee matchup like this, where it should be an exciting game with lots of chances, potentially it's a good opportunity to look at these shots on goal prop. Maybe Trocheck is your guy for tonight. Let's get into our next game. Tampa Bay, the Lightning here, taking on the Los Angeles Kings on the road here. We have Los Angeles plus 110, Tampa Bay minus 130. Total currently sitting at 6.5. Carm, I'll go to you for your thoughts here and your thoughts really on this price, because Los Angeles certainly kind of proven themselves to be a better team this year. And Tampa, well, they've certainly been a little bit up and down so far to start off things.
Yeah, they have, Andrew. My only thought, and it's still early in the season, but that I normally like to take or fade a team on their first back off a long road trip, and the Kings are returning home off that. What is it, a 5-game Eastern road trip, 4 or 5-game Eastern road trip coming home and facing Tampa Bay? But you're getting plus money on them as well too. It's early in the season. Everything points to Tampa Bay winning this game, but that doesn't mean that they're going to win the game. The Kings are a better team this season, and you're not going to see them at plus money very often at home unless they're playing sort of the elite of the NHL. I'm not ready to put Tampa Bay. This sounds so bad if you're a Tampa Bay fan, having gone to the Stanley Cup Finals 3 years in a row. But I think this is going to be a down season for Tampa. And when I say down season, they're not going to win the Atlantic as far as I'm concerned. I think the top 2 spots in that division are going to go to Florida and Toronto in whichever order you think those two will finish in. And they'll probably finish third. They're going to win their games, but this might be one that they lose, Andrew. I'm going to go against what I did all last season, which was a faded team in their first back off a long road trip on the other coast. So I'm taking the plus money here with the LA Kings. I'm gonna cross my fingers and see if we can get to the window with this one.
Buster, what are your thoughts on this matchup? I mean, obviously, it's like Carm said, Tampa Bay has been to the Stanley Cup Finals 3 straight years. LA, they're trying to prove themselves as contenders. The number indicates this one should be close. Do you think it will be?
I do think it will be close, but maybe for even the first time this year, this is our 3rd week on Tuesday, that I'm actually going to disagree with Mr. Bianco here. Usually I'm either on the side and he's on the total or whatever, but I actually like Tampa Bay here. And he did mention that point about Los Angeles first game home, but I'll talk about that. I'll touch on that. It's a small price for Tampa Bay. The thing is here, Tampa Bay has owned LA. I know it's not the same LA club. Yeah. They've won the last 11 of the last 12. They've won the last 5 in LA. Really, really like that Vasilevsky's going to be playing probably tonight. I mean, Elliott played the last game against the Islanders. And Tampa Bay's had a couple days off. I know LA's had a couple days off too, but Carmine mentioned it. It's that 5-game road trip. They come back with a couple days off. That is not as important for me here in this spot, only because it's early in the season. If that is February, that goes up in my handicapping on that first home back. But that's not as important. I think it's more important here is that I actually really do like this LA team. Unfortunately, the goaltending has been horrific. Jonathan Quick, terrible. Pettersson, terrible. I actually had them against Washington on Saturday. They give up that 2-goal lead. They allow 4 in that third period. I mean, yeah, it's. I talked about this, I think, maybe the first week when they were playing. Maybe I think they played Vegas that first week. We only had 2 games. And I said, you're not getting playoff Quick. Well, I don't even know what you're getting now because I think his goals against average is almost hitting around 4. I think it's 380 or something. So, and it looks like he might be starting again tonight. So that right away, helps Tampa Bay big time. We also have talked a lot on this show, guys, about the first road game for a team. That they're on a 3-game road trip, I believe, Tampa is. And that first road game is something that you want to, go out there and have a great game for that road team. We've talked about it a bunch of times, how we all seem to like that angle as well. As far as the total, I want no part of the 6.5. A common theme with the bookmakers now is 6.5, 6.5, 6.5. I'm shocked that you see it, but I guess it's for good reason. There's been a few overs. There's been, I guess, a lot of overs this last week. Again, each game you got to look at differently. This game's definitely don't want to touch that total. We will be betting LA, especially as Carmine, I think, mentioned about them being at home and getting plus money. Most times we will be on them. Just a spot until they get that goaltending figure out. I'm going to assume one of those guys settle in and start playing some goaltending, or they're going to have to bring somebody up because they've been horrific. Give me Tampa Bay at a short price.
Yeah, and Andrew, I'm going to add one other thing. Assuming it's Vasilevsky and Quick, historically, Quick's been good against Tampa. He's at least kept the Kings in games. He's 6-5-3 lifetime against them, but his goals against average 2.29, which is pretty good against a team like Tampa Bay. But Vasilevsky almost equally as good, 7-2 lifetime against the LA Kings with a 2.73 goals against average. So 2 good goalies, maybe a low-scoring game. We'll see who comes out on top at the end of the day. But Buster and I, we're going to disagree a lot of times during the season, but that's what makes this show great. If you had 3 guys all agreeing on the same picks, or same games, it would make for a boring, dull show.
It would be pretty boring. I want to clarify. So, Carm, you are on the Kings?
I am taking the Kings plus money.
Okay, because I thought you said that. So I think you were saying you usually fade the team off the road trip, but today you're not. Is that what it is?
Yeah, I said I would normally fade a team their first home off a long road trip, but in this case, I'm not going to. I think it's early enough in the season, and I think Buster and I actually agree on that. It's too early in the season to take that into account. Sort of like the back-to-back that I mentioned. It goes in segments. In tracking it, I noticed that the first 20 games it's a good fade. The next 40 game slot it's not as much of a fade. So I'm just going to continue to follow those until the numbers adjust.
It might surprise you guys, and especially after the stuff that Buster said there. But Carmine helped me out with a few points with the goaltending. I like under 6.5 here, so you guys can duke it out with the side. I like under 6.5. I think if there's a place and time for the LA Kings to play a better, smarter defensive game, get better goaltending, I think it is at home and it is against a team like Tampa Bay. You might think to yourself, well, why would he like the under when they're struggling and they're playing a high-powered offense like Tampa? Well, I think that's when you really come into a game being ready to play a little more defensive, sit back a little bit more, and take care of the puck in your own end. So, and like you alluded to, Buster, I mean, I've mentioned it as well a lot of times. 6.5 is the new norm. A long time ago, it used to be 5.5. So it's not easy to get over 6.5. That's for sure. And I've told myself now that I want teams that are constantly lighting the lamp. I'm not betting over 6.5s for a little while now, unless it's teams that are constantly night in, night out lighting things up, because it's hard. You need consistent scoring for each period, and I think that we're going to see some signs of defensive play from both teams here. I think we saw a little tidbit. I don't take too much of these into account, but last 5 games for Tampa Bay against a team in the Pacific Division has gone under the total. So we'll see what happens in this one. I like the under. These two guys are going head-to-head. I'm sure we'll hear about it on Twitter or next Tuesday from one of them. Let's jump into our last game, Pittsburgh and Calgary here. Carm mentions it. It's not a Tim Hortons double-double. It's the Alberta double. We have Pittsburgh here at plus 150, Calgary minus 180. Pittsburgh off a tough game for them yesterday. That certainly has to play into a factor. To me, when I look at back-to-backs, and Carm's done a great job of looking at history of this, when I look at back-to-backs, I like to kind of fade a team on a back-to-back maybe if they won that first game. But if they lost the game the previous night, then the situation becomes a little more tricky because they're hungrier. They're a little bit more, eager to go look at film and correct some of the mistakes they made, especially when you have a team like the Pittsburgh Penguins that's built with so many veteran players like Sidney Crosby, Chris Letang, Evgeny Malkin, and they're very well coached, of course, with Mike Sullivan. So it's a price I'm looking at here with minus 180 on this Flames team that is just so talented. But I actually am going to take a shot with the Pittsburgh Penguins at plus 150 underdogs to right their wrong immediately following the next night. It's not going to be easy, but this is a value play to me at plus 150. Buster, what are your thoughts here in this matchup?
Well, I guess my thoughts are, since I disagree with Carmine, I might as well disagree with you too, just to finish off the day, right? But you're right about these 6.5. So if you're going to play any teams, you got to make sure that they're scoring some goals, and these teams do. I really like Calgary here. Again, Pittsburgh's on that third game in 4 nights. They also are all on the road, which I think is important. Now you talk about back-to-back as well. Carmine has mentioned it, and so have I, about these. Hasn't gone too well for these teams on back-to-backs early this season. I mean, I mentioned a bunch of them last week. I'm not going to go through that again. But for Calgary, too, Calgary beat these guys both games last year. They were low-scoring games. I actually do like the over a bit here, but my play is definitely on Calgary. But when I saw the game and bet the game, it was at 140. I can't believe it's up to 180 now. That's so that was surprising when you put up that graphic. I'm like, 180, where the hell did that come from? So there's no Gunsel for Pittsburgh again, and no Jarry because he played last night. So I got to believe DeSmith will be in net. Calgary's had a rough schedule to start, and they've had a couple of days off. I think that really helps them here. I think they'd be able to get the jump on them. And again, if you like the over, I got some nice stats. Pitts went 5 out of 6 to the over so far this year. Calgary's 3-2 to the over. Pittsburgh's 13-3 last 16 to the over. So I do like the over here as well. I kind of like Calgary a little bit more. Now that it's 180, I might look at Calgary, but like I said, I've already bet at 140, so I don't know. I wouldn't bet it. If it was 180 when I bet it, I'm not betting it. We had already talked. Like, my limit is 160 tops. I've been trying to go 155, 150 for the last, I don't know how long time, 10 years, whatever. So for me, I do like it over. I do like Calgary. Probably bet, if I was, I'm telling you now that it's 180, maybe Calgary in regulations in play. And yeah, sorry, Andrew, have to go against the host every once in a while too.
Hey, don't be sorry to me. I'm sorry to you because I'm going to cash a plus 150, Buster. No, we'll see. It should be a good matchup. Carm, what do you think?
Carm's over here popping Tums, Pepsid, ACs, and trying to figure out how Buster and I actually agree on this one. It is giving me an upset stomach, but I'm going to lean on Calgary, and I would likely take them in regulation. Your lane minus 105, Calgary to win within 60. We mentioned, okay, so this is the third team now to come to Alberta and do the Alberta double. Carolina came in, lost both games, lost to Edmonton, lost to Calgary. Pittsburgh comes in, loses to Edmonton. They play Calgary tonight. The only team that has come in here and won both games, the Buffalo Sabres. Yes, Lawrence, if you're watching this, and I know you're not, the Buffalo Sabres. Anyways, with that said, it is, as Buster mentioned, the 3rd and 4 nights for Pittsburgh. It's also the 4th and 6th nights for them. So a big stretch of games over a 1 week period. If you like the over, Pittsburgh's been a great over bet thus far this season, 5-1 to the over. Calgary 3-2 to the over, and 4-1 on the season. I'm going to take Calgary. I'm going to take the better team here, which I believe is the Calgary Flames, and I'll take them to win within 60 and lay the minus 105 as opposed to the minus 180.
What a day it is on Puck Time today. Two people going against me. It's going to happen sometimes. It's going to happen. It should be a really good game, and as hockey fans, it's nice when you're placing a bet on a game that you do expect to be a competitive one. But Calgary, the rest is really important for them. So it should be a good one. I wanted to mention as well, I see some of the guys in the comments, and a huge shout out to everybody tuning in live, or if you're watching afterwards or on the apps, make sure you leave a comment. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you're on for tonight, what you're betting. But people are mentioning this in the chat room. I had to mention Steven Stamkos is off to like a career start. It's unbelievable. Shots on goal and just scoring wise. He's a guy you want to have in your fantasy lineups or in your, prop betting, bag for tonight. If you're betting props, Steven Stamkos is a guy that's playing really well. And shout out to our chat room. I mean, Carm, you do a great job of staying in it quite a bit. But, man, a lot of great discussions going on, whether it's disagreements, whether they're on the same page, throwing their picks out. This is what we love to see, growing a nice community here on Puck Time. You absolutely love to see it. Let's jump into our show best bets, also known as power plays, and remind folks at home what we have going on for tonight. As it is a bigger slate here and a good slate to break down. Of course, we got some college and NFL football this coming weekend. I'll start with you, Carm. What's going on for you?
Yeah, NHL will go up after the show. There's Champions League soccer that goes today, 3 games up, match day 6, and then a couple loaded for Thursday. So NHL will come up. Wager Talk does have the promo. If you're getting a 1-day all access for any capper on the site or any all access package, you get 31% off with the code BOO, as in BOO 31. You get so grabbing that 1-day all access works out pretty good. You'll get a third off of that package. My show best bet, Andrew, I'm a glutton for punishment. The New Jersey Devils ripped my heart out last night, and a lot of people who followed me along. And I'm going to come right back with them against Johnny Detroit's Detroit Red Wings because it almost makes no sense whatsoever. But they're going to bounce back off that game. I'm expecting more from this New Jersey team, and I'm going to look for a quick bounce back from this team that played a terrible second period and played themselves out of the game within a 20-minute span. So New Jersey Devils laying a very short price, minus 115 for me. Don Buster, what do you have up at Sports Memo, and give us a best bet?
Yeah, head over to Sports Memo. I got an NHL triple play going up like I had last night. Went 2-1 last night. Actually hitting about 60% for the year so far in NHL. And that's along with I'll sit here and piss and moan again. I'm 0-3 in overtime and shootouts this year. I can't just get around that, or I'd be really doing well these last few years. I've been just really ugly. Last year was super ugly. I think it was like 12-41, something stupid. So I'm hoping the hockey gods come around, but I can't complain. Like I said, I'm hitting 60%, so I'm all good with I'll take that for the year all day long. Of course, or grab a 3 or 7 day all access. Give us a try over at Sports Memo. We have NFL, CFL, college basketball. World Series is starting on Friday, which looking forward to that. I'm sure Dan, our producer, is very looking forward to that. So, head over to Sports Memo and check us out over there. Show play, well, we gave out started off the year with we got a push in the Ranger game, and then Carmine baited me to start doing my first period minus a half puck line plays, and we had a nice 150 plus 150 winner last week. And I'm going to go back right to the game that we just talked about, the Calgary game, going with a first period puck line minus a half plus 160. And that line might be down now because I got, like I say, played that early this morning. And really like Colorado just to come out. We actually kind of saw how well how Pittsburgh, maybe they're a little bit old maybe too, because Edmonton really took it to them late in that game, and that might be a little bit of a hangover for them early. I really just like Calgary in this game because Pittsburgh is actually, they have to go, they'll get a couple days rest, and then they still have a couple more games on the road, may go to Vancouver and chill and win those 2 games. I just really like Calgary tonight. We're going to take it for that first period. And best of luck to everyone. And we'll see you from Mexico next Tuesday.
Buster with the first period play. I love those first period plays. Buster, I'm not sure if you're going to be in Mexico next Tuesday while you're giving all your free play. I did call Canada Customs Border Security. You're going to end up on one of their episodes. If you watch Border Security, Buster will be appearing on one of the future episodes of that show. It's an anonymous tip that was put in. Andrew, before I throw it to you to close off the show with your best bet. Hold on, Buster, hold on. Before I throw it to Andrew to close off the show, guys, head over to our Puck Time Twitter account in the next half hour. I didn't put up on Saturday, I will put up a contest for a Puck Time t-shirt. So head over there. I will have a contest up within the next 15, 20 minutes, and it'll close at game time tonight. So a chance to win one of those Puck Time jerseys. Andrew, what do you have going on? And give us the best bet.
Buster, I do hope you make it over there, despite the anonymous tip. Yeah, for me, I love this board more than I did last night. That's for sure. I really do like this board tonight. So I have a decent palette of selections. You can grab them at wagertalk.com, all in one package. But hey, I'm happy that Carm was kind of the guy that passed it over to me, because I'm fading your team, Carm, for my best bet. I'm going with the Seattle Kraken against the Buffalo Sabres. I'm fading the team off to a good start. This is the time of year that I like to do that, about 4 or 5 games into the season. You kind of find a team that maybe is overachieving a little bit, has some guys that are scoring every game that probably shouldn't be scoring every game. Seattle, they're off a loss to the Chicago Blackhawks, who are probably the worst team in the league. This is the game that they bounce back. So far, they haven't lost to the Buffalo Sabres, and they're playing at home. I like the Kraken here at -130. They got to get it together. This is a big game for them, and I expect a big performance. So the Kraken, release the Kraken for me today, guys, against the Sabres. Hopefully they get it done at home. And to recap here, all the best bets here. We have Carmine with New Jersey, -115. Don Buster, the famous first period plays, Calgary first period, -0.5 goal at +160. Tomorrow we have the Preds joining us. Should be a entertaining show, to say the least, as always. And on behalf of Buster, Carm, I'm Andrew. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
Tuesdays is known as $2 Tuesdays at wagertalk.com and sportsmemo.com, where you can get the hottest handicappers, best bet, or daily package for only $2.